Yo. Okay. So today we will be making the ultimate Discord debater tier list. You know, obviously me being the good faith, linear, intelligent, tall interlocutor that I am, right? I'm obviously going to be ranking these people in the most unbiased and fair manner possible. All this will be based off of argumentation, conversation control, generally who can win debates like most times while also outperforming their opponent, right? Those sorts of things which I'll be ranking you on, Obviously, I have another whole entire video dedicated on, how you should properly make tier lists. So, again, if you haven't watched that, you should go and watch it now. So, with that being said, like the video, subscribe. If you have any issues with the tier list, what's it called? Let me know. To start off with Infinity, obviously, I don't think this guy actually reads about philosophy at all in the slightest. For somebody who's supposedly better at philosophy than he is at I see is at fiction. Or, many people think he's bad at philosophy, many people think he's bad at fiction, but regardless, we're going to start with his philosophy takes. Obviously he thinks a car is a property. Infinity generally, he just doesn't typically understand any of the stuff he's talking about. I don't think I've ever, or I don't even think this guy's ever read a paper in his entire life. Generally, in terms of debate feats, you already have the infamous "the set of all contingent things is God." Trivially, one of the biggest blunders which has ever occurred within last year as a whole. You also have his consistent and his judged debate loss to Gyro, right? Where he couldn't even prove selves exist, and he tried to argue that you can have self-interest without a self, which again, if you just listen to that sentence back a bit, you understand why that not only is a big blunder, but also just trivially, like, it just doesn't make any sense. He lost that debate to Jaro and Judgment, even though particularly I haven't watched it. But the sort of priors that I have that Jaro won that debate are extremely high. Next, moving on, one of Infinity's most, if not strongest features is his conversation control. Even though I do think that his conversation control takes the form of just generally being obnoxious and consistently cutting off your opponent so they aren't able to get a word out, right? His conversation control is quite good, but when you actually sit down and listen to the words that are coming out of his mouth, you notice that they're entirely gibberish, right? Supposedly, according to some people, right, the main strength that Infinity has is because he spits so much gibberish, it's very hard to track it, right? And because it's very hard to track the gibberish that's coming out of his mouth, right, therefore, like, that makes him very good at winning debates. But again, I don't think that actually counts in terms of argumentation. Like, sure, maybe you can use idiosyncratic terms. I think, no, in fact, no, I think many, if not all debaters, right, who are very low level do the exact same things Infinity does. Generally, whenever it comes down to sheer argumentation, right, if you say D1 and Infinity were to debate on Naruto Inverse, right, I doubt that Infinity would come off and win that debate like no death, like probably it would be mid high at best. I don't think he has any sort of notable feat, and the best thing he's done is beat Forks, but as we all know, Forks was the method, right? I don't think Forks is particularly good. He has one good performance, which is against Bridge, but again, in general, as a totality, that's just an outlier, right? Like, sure, he has one good debate performance, right? And then now he just never can repeat it again. But yeah, I also think Bridge is going way significantly better since the time in which they debated, and because he's gotten significantly better from the time in which they debated. I don't think there is the sort of thing where we can try and downgrade the sort of feats he has. And Bridge also has way better feats. But translating it back to Infinity and Bridge did debate. I think that Bridge won that JJK debate quite handily. Right? In my personal opinion, it just does not, like, I don't care, and I've already said this before in many past videos. I don't particularly care what the judge says, right? If I just disagree with the judge, right? Like, I just don't care. But yeah, with that being said, I don't think I need to continue to hop on about Infinity. We can move on to the next person, which is Arkana, because I haven't really watched Agent Debate. Arkana, he's just what it means to be he just what it means to be a tier 5, right? He already gets beat by his parents with bamboo, right? His parents don't love him. Aside from his parents not loving him and also beating him with bamboo, you also have the fact that he generally, not only just does he not know how conjunctions work, he lost to Shikio, he lost to Gyro, he lost to Jester. He's never actually won a debate, at least from what I've seen from him. So again, somebody who's never won an actual debate, right? At least I will say that he did better against Gyro than I expected him to do, right? But he still lost that debate quite handily, and I don't think that I'll give him because my, like, literal standards on how I think he would perform, or my idea on how I think he would perform was so low. It's literally impossible for him to do worse than I expected him to. So yeah, he stays in tier 5. Arrow, he won polls on Infinity, but I don't really care about the polls. I need to watch the debate. However, no, no. Like, however, I will say though, like, okay, he has good stamina. I'll give him that. But for example, whenever I like was speaking to Ara about abortion, and then he was trying to dismiss my analogy in the case of it being impossible, then when I asked him what modality it was, for example, he like we went on for an hour to the point to which I eventually just lost interest in the entire debate. Right? He generally just doesn't know a lot about the topics he wishes to talk about. Right? Whenever he debated Valor, I think he lost. Whenever I think he debated Bubbles, I think no, maybe he might have beaten Bubbles, but he definitely didn't beat Valor. Um, I've never actually seen him convincingly win a debate. Like I know that he's won. He supposedly has beaten Six, right? But in the debate I watched, whenever they were just trying to justify whether or not Six was white coat or no, or whether or not Ariel was white coat, I think Ariel lost that debate pretty handily. In terms of rhetoric, sure, maybe he's like convincing to laymen, but I don't think he's convincing to anybody who actually reads up a little, even a little bit about the topic in which they're talking about. So yeah, Arrow just deserves his position there. Also, he beat D1, and D1 is the staple of tier 4. Um, Sonic, um, Sonic is a very decent tier 2. No, not very decent. He's a very good tier 2. Sonic knows a lot about the topics he's talking about. Sonic has beaten Venus, right? Sonic has beaten. Not only has he beaten Venus, but he's beaten like Jack. Like so again, to say that Sonic just is a very good debater would just be absurd. Now, in his debate against Hyde, like I know what's it called? Maybe there's a confusion because I don't particularly understand or like I don't particularly read up about epistemology. So maybe you can like correct me if I'm wrong. But ooh, I'm lagging out. Okay, yeah, man. But what's it called? Maybe it's because I'm not too well read or up on epistemology, but particularly all Sonic was trying to say throughout his entire debate with Hyde is that his view isn't supposed to answer the question that Hyde was asking him. And Hyde was saying that, okay, even if your view isn't supposed to answer it, if it doesn't answer it, then it's still a major flaw in the view, therefore your view fails, right? Even if it isn't supposed to. Right? And I don't think Sonic gave a solid rebuttal account towards that, right? Again, maybe it's shaky because I don't my knowledge on like epistemology is lacking. But Sonic just deserves his placement there. I think he could beat Venus again, as I said before. And yeah. Um Apollo. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, man. Okay, there's a few things that I wish to touch up on. So even though Apollo does have like wide and like very renowned influence, right? Um, Apollo just he has very very bad underperformances. For example, look at his debate against Jester. Look at his debate against Kojo actually, where he said there's a definition for a grain of sand, right? And it's like no. Specifically, he said something like, okay, there's what was it, right? He said there's a definition of a heap of sand. Right. And where that definition actually involved a certain sort of necessary, no, a certain sort of sufficient condition for being like one specific sufficient condition for there being a grain of sand, for like a heap of sand to exist. He just didn't know the sufficient condition, right? It's like there's also all of the blunders he made against C whenever he debated C. For example, like C just asked him a very simple question. If he disagrees with the principle, do not multiply harm beyond necessity, right? Which is a very intuitive, and I don't know why anyone would ever disagree with such a principle, right? Yeah, Apollo just continued to try and disagree with it for literally no reason aside for his own ego. His own ego leads to him losing debates a lot of the time, or if not losing, then he underperforms or mistracks simply because either A, he just wants to listen to himself speak, more so in comparison to his own opponent, right? And more so in comparison to the sorts of arguments that they wish to provide, right? And B, right, generally just due to the fact that he has really bad tracking, you can also listen to his debate against Sakazuki, where against Sakazuki, the entire premise of the debate in the first place, gosh, had to go close my door, but the entire premise of the debate in the first place was whether or not this is the debate standard that we should use, right? So whether or not this is the debate standard, just to repeat it. And Apollo kept like speaking for a good 40 minutes, right, on what the debate standard should be. Right, it's like nobody cares. That isn't actually part of the argument. It's just a severe, blatant mistrack where you just didn't even track the initial topic that they were talking about. Right, obviously leading to him losing. I'm gonna blitz. Let me see how many minutes this video has actually been. 9 minutes already. Okay, that's fine. Arianas. Oh yeah. Also, Apollo lost to Hyde, right? So like, if Apollo lost to Hyde, then you just can't be any higher than he is. But Arianas in his case, Supposedly, now I don't agree. Supposedly Arianas lost to or supposedly Arianas beat T-Jump. I'm not of the opinion that he beat T-Jump. Now, I agree that T-Jump made some pretty bad blunders within the debate. He still won though, like he still won. He literally beat up Arianas on meta ethics, right, within the actual conversation, right? Whether or not he was correct or not does not matter. Whether or not he blundered or not does not matter, right? Because in context of the debate, he literally used those blunders. Not only did Arianas not call them out properly, he used said blunders to beat him up, in my opinion, of course, right? But Arianas did supposedly triumph over Apollo within their 2 hour meta ethics debate, right? Like Arianas supposedly triumphed over him. He supposedly beat him. I'm not watching a 2 hour long debate between two people who I don't like, right? So aside from him making that 2 hour long debate, so he beat him up pretty badly. Also, Ariana supposedly right has beaten Brain Mason. Now I'm not particularly of the opinion that he beat Brain Mason. In fact, I think he lost that debate probably, right? But again, I think that his performance against Brain Mason was good enough to warrant him his placement, right? I don't think there's anyone else who's below him who would have performed even slightly as close to the way Ariana's performed. But again, generally, Ariana's is just very hard to listen to. He's an arrogant dickhead. Like he's just crazy, bro. Like he's unironically crazy. Like there's something wrong with him. He thinks that he's surrounded by Instagram baddies. If you've actually seen his face, you know that he need to pay a woman to touch him with a 10-foot pole. Anyways, moving on with the obvious placements. A get it? A get it? Haha. Gosh, I'm so hilarious. I think C beat Liam. I think C did really good against Kojo whenever they debated. Right. Obviously C isn't like as active on court, so I doubt he'd probably care. But I think maybe in certain sorts of situations C also runs into the same sort of issue as Apollo does, where because he thinks he's far better than his opponent, right, he ends up with him literally just underperforming and performing way worse. Right. So for example, look at his debate against Zizo, right, where he agreed that he'd eat flames. And it's like, well, obviously I think he was trolling, right? And it should be pretty obvious he was trolling. But most people would be like, no, 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 he wasn't trolling, he wasn't trolling, he actually lost. It's like, no, bro, like, come on. But regardless, I do think he underperformed in his debate against Zizo. I do think he underperformed sometimes. But take, for example, his debate against Infinity. I think he beat the brakes off of Infinity. Right? I think he's, what's it called? I think he does consistently very, very good against people like Brain Mason. I think he does very, very good against people like Liam. Right? And I think he did really good against Kojo. Whether or not he lost the debate is another matter, or won or lost the debate is another matter. But I do think he did excellently. I think he's better than Rizhan, and obviously I think Rizhan beat Venus. Rizhan beat Venus, he beat Gyro, right? Rizhan also did extremely good against Fleur. So it's like it's a very just clear scaling chain hierarchy, bro. But yeah, she's rightfully deserved this placement. Aston Aston's at least from my knowledge the best out of the fiction debating bunch, right? Who what's it called? Best out of the fiction debating bunch. Who have actually listened to them speak. Like, okay, whether or not he lost to C is another matter again, right? I haven't watched the debate personally, but I do think just from like my experiences of speaking to him, I do think he's far more intelligent than most of the people below him, and he'd probably win if they were to debate. Bridge, no, you be Apollo. Bubbles, Brimmerson, Bunk. Some of these just want no explanation. Yeah. Chrome. Danny Phil talks. Archie. D1. Calamity. Would Calamity be Infinity? Sure. Uh, Careless. He thinks dragons exist. Like, come on. He thinks dragons exist. He's like a moron. So yeah. Um. Classical. David. Doorman. Supposedly lost to Arianas. That, I'm just going off of the law for that one. Dead boy. Dead boy did Bianca. Lol. Demi. Those who know about the Black Swan fallacy. Valor. Evan. Evan B. Apollo. So, yeah. Drake. Flames. This guy's like really stupid. He's really no. He's really stupid. So look, like I'm having an abortion debate with Flames. Flames is like, okay, and this is the reductio. Okay, if we imagine that there's a cancer cell which is in your body, and the cancer cell, it's the amount of harm that it does to your body, right? Is the exact same as the amount of harm a fetus would do should you like say take it to term and actually like give birth, right? It's literally the same amount of harm that does to your body. So isn't it like, oh yeah, it'll do some like long term harm that a fetus would not regularly do, right? It's taking nutrients from your body like a regular fetus does, right? And it's going to gain sentience like a regular fetus will, and it has a future like ours. Would it be wrong to abort it? And that's the reductio he gives. And then he expects me saying there wouldn't be anything wrong with it, right? Or oh no, it would be wrong to abort it, right? Or get rid of it. Like, he expects me saying that to be a reductio. And it's like, no, if you take away every relevant difference between and a fetus and like this cancer, so you take away every relevant difference, right? Then obviously I'd grant that like they are morally equivalent. And then he's like, oh well, isn't that just the same for every reductio? It's like, no. Usually in the cases of reductios, whenever we take away some property, right? Usually the reason why it's absurd is because that property which is being removed is not the morally valuable one, or is not the sort of property which they need to lose in order for the sort of conclusion they're trying to derive to be true or to be like morally valid, right? So it's like I don't know like what's wrong with him. His reasoning skills is zero. His argumentation is zero. His rhetoric is zero. He's literally a zero overall, right? So like I don't get it. Like he's just a zero overall. Dean, 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 Dean. Destiny. Iggy Glazer's Destiny. So I'll let him have that. RV supposedly isn't like he better than AY. Forks the method. Future. Fallen. Is this Fallen God? Yeah. This is Fallen God. Goons. Eric. I'll start elaborating immediately it gets on like a point where I actually need to. Detroya. Forca. Forca beat he beat D1. So Godly supposedly beat Bubbles. Is Mason, frankly, hot take, I think is Mason lost to Apollo on or in their physicalism debate. But for what's it called? For the rest of his performances and the law, right? I'll just keep him there, right? Even though, does he know more about philosophy than Bunk does? No. Mm. 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 Yeah, that's fine. Um. Ghetto Ben. Gadfly. Liam. Wait, why's Fallen God here? I think Liam's better than Destiny. I don't care what Liam has to say. Like, he's better than Destiny, bro. Shut up. Clue. Clueless Clue. Yes, Bob. No, it's not better than Apollo. I thought I was gonna rank him. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyways, Gios is horrible. Like, I don't know why. Like, I know he beat folks, but it's actually horrible. I don't know why anyone would actually be convinced that Gios is a good debater. Um, Jester, he did well against Bubbles. Maybe he used to be an error son in the past, but he did well against Bubbles, so he deserves his rightful place, man. Jack, did he strike? If we're talking about Prime Jack, he'd be up here. But, it's like a One Piece, so you get weaker as you age, so he'd probably be below Arianas. Lucario. Lucario! Yeah. BR and Hunter Killer. Where is he? Yeah, this guy sucks. Like, he's really bad. I don't know how, like, anyone managed to convince themselves that I was a good debater. Makima. B Forks. Give him his flowers. Manji. Chrome Rival. Juju. Julian. He's better than him. He's better than him. I don't know if he's better than him. I don't know if he's better than him. The idea of Mercury. Let's just like this. This is like, okay. Infinite gap. You are not an idea. The idea of Mercury. You know how, like, what's it called? When you think of doing something and you're like, whoa, that'd be really sick if I did it. And then you actually do it. And, like, you actually doing it is way, way, way less enjoyable than the idea of you doing it. Take that, but with the debater. Now, Mercury hasn't properly debated, but the idea, if you think about Mercury, I can imagine speaking to Mercury, then you think to yourself, imagine if Mercury debated. Alright, that's why he's there. Alright, now maybe Mercury the person though, like Mercury the person, Mercury the person lost to Careless. Alright, but the idea of Mercury, think about that. Let that sink in. Imagine Mercury debating. Just imagine it. Free. Wow, Free's a gibberator, bro. Like he just talks to talk. Jaja beat error. Haha. I'll never let that go. Kuros. Something should just be self-explanatory. Is Chris better than me? Is Chris better than just an L Jax. Lenny Jax is. There we go. He's running me out of my mind. Noodles supposedly be the one. So wait a minute. Let me just check for symmetry here. Kiss her, love her. You say hola, como esta? You say konnichiwa. You say my name, my friends. You say my debara. You see, say shamade. You say never. No matter where I go, you know I love them all. You say hola, como esta? You say konnichiwa. You say my name, my friends. Where am I? You say my debara. Yeah, okay. This isn't symmetrical. We're gonna need to fix this. This isn't symmetrical. Huh? Okay. So no matter where I go, you know I love him all. You say I like him star. Say konnichiwa. Is it crazy to say that he's better than Flame? Beta. It's just another. It's just another. No matter where I go, you know I love him all. You say I like him star. Konnichiwa. No, actually. I'll get this. Penny lost to Dead Boy. Oh, yeah, he did lose to Dead Boy. That guy has buns, bro. Pianist. Pianist is definitely beating this, boys. So somebody, say never, no matter where I go. No, I love them all. You say I like a star. Prime King Xerxes, hey. Sekonichiwa. Somebody, my friend. Somebody, Syntha. This should be obvious. Like all of these placements I'm doing now, they aren't really controversial. So, I'm just gonna keep ranking. Sakazuki. Now, he be Apollo up. Yeah, man. Like that. I really need to say more. He be Apollo up. Um, Unironically though, Sakazuki's actually quite intelligent. Right? Like he's actually quite intelligent. I don't think I need to say more than that. Smoothie. Yeah, Smoothie. I don't actually know what is it about like Smoothie that makes him any better or any different than Infinity. Like, are they not the same person? Like in my eyes, they're this. Bro, Kentai's like an evil guy. I'll say that. But like, are they not the same person? Like, unironically. Cause I'm better. So nothing. No matter where I go, I love it more. So Ningen. Lol. Bro, all of these people have been added onto the debate tier list who don't actually debate. Noism. No, Noism actually. He's really bad. No, I'm not gonna say he's really bad. No, he's not really bad. Right. But in the debate I had with him, he just wasn't it, man. Single penis. Yeah, that works. You say I'm the biggest. Lord. In the problems, regardless. Rizhan beat Venus worse than Sonic did, so he's just over there. Unbiased, random. Current Venus. Current Venus. Current Venus. Current Venus. Current Venus. Current Venus. Sanvi gets points because she's really, really, really attractive. Like, Gyro beat Bridge. Gosh, Sanvi's so attractive. Like, damn! Damn! Let me repeat one more time. Damn! I've heard some good vouchers for Void. So I'm gonna put Void over here, but he's not as attractive as Sanvi, so like I don't know why you'd rank him there. T Hump. Unironically, T Jump's better than Noism. Don't care. Don't care. Shoot me. Fight me if you want. T Jump's better than Noism. Tensor. How can I make a man out of you? Be a man. The day I see this guy argue for an affirmative position and win, and also the day he can convince me to listen to him argue um for an affirmative position with his voice, it is the day where he ascends to tier 1. You just beat him, bro. Symmetry. Perfect did well against Apollo whenever they debated. He did well against Apollo whenever they debated. Supposedly he lost to Archie. But all of the people who say he lost to Archie are like driller, dumb idiots. So I don't know if I trust that. I've never seen him win a debate against anybody who's good. Unironically, maybe I'm wrong. He got beat. No, he wouldn't be honest. I'm just gonna take him off because he doesn't rate. Sin based largest submission partners regardless. Maybe I'm biased. Am I biased to Valor because he's British? That's actually, I need to look into that, like, am I biased for Valor because he is British? Huh. Huh. Am I biased? I just saw a name. Oof. I just saw a name, and that name brings back memories. It brings back memories of a better time. And, you know, we caught him. We caught him bringing shame towards the GC. So we had to banish him. We had to send him on his own way. Moxie, I'm going to take the idea of Mercury's word on it. That Moxie is actually really good. I'm going to take the idea of Mercury's word on it. How? Haha. Now, yeah. There we go. No, he'd beat Dean. Okay, Hyde. Hyde beat Apollo. Hyde beat Venus. Hyde beat Sonic. Hyde beat Jack. Unironically, the only sort of anti-feed I think you could give Hyde is the debate I had with him and the debate he had with Gyra. But after that, I do think he got way better after his Gyra debate. And I haven't watched Gyra versus Rizon on gender identity. So I just think, until further notice, Hyde is right here. Now, Venus, he's still up here because, I'm ranking Venus off of like, maybe he underperformed, but maybe underperformed against these people, right? I'd like to think that Venus is just what's it called? Venus is just a little bit good, right, or a little bit better than he did in those debates. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, right? But what's it called? Hyde should be above. Like if it's the Venus who debated Rizhan and Hyde, he'd be way lower. So yeah, why would I rank 6? It's just better than Draco. It's better than Bubbles too. No. There. Then we need to make this symmetrical. So now I need one more person who is exactly tier 3. And I found my answer. Money. There we go. Now we've created the perfect symmetrical. Oh, I forgot to add Yugi. Okay. If we add Yugi, we're going to need to take somebody off. This one, Moxie. We don't like you. Anyways, so this is the ultimate Discord debated tier list. If you disagree, you're wrong. What's it called? Yeah, if you hold on, wait a minute. One of these isn't symmetrical. It's this one. We're gonna need to take somebody off of this one, and well, unfortunately, gonna need to banish Apollo from the tier list. So there we go. This is the list. Perfectly ordered. And yeah, if you like this type of videos, please remember to like and subscribe. If you have any issues with the tier list, please let me know in the comments. This has been Shenra. You are the viewer, and I'm out.